Paper 2, question 14. It's a star question, which means you've got to have all your workings down in order to get full credit. Viv wants to invest £2,000 for 2 years in the same bank. So you've got two banks here. You've got the International and you have the Friendly. Each one has different amounts of interest given for year 1 and year 2. And you need to compound both of these to see which one's going to give you the greatest amount of money. Now, you don't actually need that £2,000 in order to calculate what this is, but we'll go along the lines of assuming that you need it. So, the International, the first year you gain 4%, so we're going to increase by 4% in the first year. Then, in the second year, because it's important that what you do here happens after that, then you will increase an extra 1%. It says for each extra year, but all we care about is the second year, because that's what the question talks about. For Friendly Bank, the interest for the first year is 5%. So we go up by 5%. Then in the second year, we're going to go up by 0.5%. Which one is the best? Okay, well, our percentage multiplier for an increase of each of these, you will always have your original amount, which means an increase from an original amount is an increase from the number 1. 4% is just the decimal 0.04. 1% is 0.01, 5% is 0.05, and 0.5% is 0.005. So the fact that we are increasing by those decimals from 1 means that for the first year, all we need to do is multiply by 1.04 and we will get the amount at the end of the first year. If we then multiply by 1.01, that will then give us the total amount after the second year. Similarly here, our decimal multiplier for this would be 1.05 for a 5% increase and 1.005 for a 0.5% increase. Now, I can obviously stick 2,000 there and multiply by both of these, and 2,000 there and multiply by both of those, and whichever amount is bigger tells you what bank you need to have it in. But I'm going to show you that you don't even need to do that. If you multiply 1.04 and 1.01 together, you will get a new decimal. And if you multiply 1.05 and 1.005 together, you will get a new decimal, which I'm going to put in green. Kind of like one giant multiple that you can do the whole thing in one go. So with the first one, 1.04 times 1.01 gives us 1.0504. So compounding those two multiples is the same as doing that multiple. In this one, if you multiply 1.05 and 1.005 together, you get a multiple of 1.05525. Now, when you compare these two multiples, you should notice that this one is bigger. Which means that when you invest your £2,000, because you have a bigger multiple that's happening over these 2 years, you're going to have a bigger amount at the end. So you don't actually need to go through and do this. You could compare these and say, larger, 1.05525 is greater than 1.0504, therefore the Friendly Bank is going to give you more money, alright? And that would be enough to just show you the workings for what most people will have tried to do. We'll assume you're going to plug in this 2,000. Write it out. 2,000 times 1.04 times 1.01. From that we get 2,180p. For this one, plug in our 2,000 and multiply by 1.05 and 1.005, and you get 2,110. So no surprises there, you get a larger amount here, and 50p. To answer the question, which bank should she invest in, you have to compare these two values. So you have to state that one is bigger than the other. So in this case, that is bigger than that. So even just write that, 2110.50 is bigger than 2100.080. Therefore, Friendly Bank is the better investment. or something along that lines. It doesn't really matter as long as you're making a clarification that if Viv puts her money into the friendly bank, she's going to make more money.